This is the homework helper for Chapter 8, Section 7 in the 8th grade textbook entitled Surface Areas of Prisms and Cylinders. We're going to be looking at the top 6 questions on the worksheet here, and we're going to go in chunks here. So that means the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the prisms. And the prisms are what you see in questions 2 and 3 and 4 and 6. So let's approach all those questions first. Now, in 2, 3, 4, and 6, all those use the same formula, so that would be a good place to start by writing down the formula here. The formula that you saw for this earlier in the notes was 2b plus ph. Again, b stands for the area of the base, p is the perimeter of that same base, and h is the height of the entire shape. So that's probably a good place to start, is going through and finding those different things so we can solve these questions here. So B, the area of the base here, in number 2, well, it's a 17 by 11 rectangle, so we're going to do 17 by 11 there. 17 times 11 is 187. And then P is the perimeter of the base, so what I get when I add up the 4 sides of that same rectangle, that would be 17 plus 11 plus 17 plus 11. Or if you want to think of it 2 sides at a time, that would be 28 plus 28, which is going to give me 56. And then H is the height of the entire shape. Well, that's marked at 12. And we'll come back and do that final calculation in a minute. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 3, a triangular prism. Remember, we want to think about this like a type of a strange cereal box maybe, or something we put in a pantry. We probably wouldn't leave it laying down like that. The base on the triangular prism is always the triangle. All right, so we've got to find the area of the base. Well, that means I'm using area of a triangle formula. Half times its base times its height. Remember, the base and height meet at a right angle, and there's my right angle. It's actually marked very clearly back here. So half of 9 times 12, that's the same as 6 times 9, or 54. P is the perimeter of that triangle, so what I get when I go around the base there, 9 plus 12, and then we have to read back here for that hypotenuse, 15. So that's 9 plus 12 plus 15, and when we add that up, that's going to give me 36. H is how tall the entire shape is. Remember, it's laying down, so we have to picture it kind of going upright and then translate it in our head to how it sits, and that's 22. Now, some of you might be just a smidge confused because you're saying, well, wait a minute, I thought that number had to be in here because that's half times base times the height to find the area of the triangle. You're right, but it's the base and height of the triangle as opposed to the height of the entire shape. That's one of those things that makes these very confusing, is because you have same variable twice, but it means different things. All right, number 4 is a perfect cube, 14 by 14 by 14. That shouldn't be too bad. Area of the base, that's going to be 14 squared. Length times width, 14 times 14, which I believe is 196. Yes, it is. Perimeter of the base is what you get when you add up the 4 sides going around the bottom. Well, they're all 14, so 14 plus 14 plus 14 plus 14, which is another 56. And H is how tall the entire shape is, and that's 14 as well. And then we'll come over here to number 6. Start off again, we're going to find the area of the base, so the area of the rectangular piece at the bottom. 30 times 17.8, length times width is all I'm doing there, 534. Then I'm going to do the perimeter of the base, the distance around the bottom piece, so 30 plus 17.8 plus 30 plus 17.8. And when I do that, that's going to give me 95.6. H is how tall the entire shape is. Well, the shape is 16.5 feet tall. tall marked over here on the left side. Okay, so that's everything we need. Now we can dump our numbers into our formulas and solve here. So in number 2, we're going to go back and we're going to do 2 times 187. Remember, it's 2 times the B number plus the P number times the H number. And the only thing we want to do is make sure we use order of operations. Do our multiplications first, and then add those results together. And in this case, that's 1,046 centimeters squared. Okay, number 3, 2 times the B number, 2 times 54, plus the P number times the H number, 36 times 22. And again, we're going to solve that one out. Again, multiplications first, then go back and grab the addition. So that's the same as 792 plus 108, and that's an even 900, and that's inches squared. In number 4 there, 2 times the B number, so 2 times 196, plus the P number times the H number, 56 times 14. Again, order of operations. Are you sick and tired of me saying that yet? Order of operations. So the multiplications first, and then go back and do the addition. That's 392 plus 784. That's going to give me 1,176 meters squared. And then at number 6, same thing we've been doing. 2 times the B number, so 2 times 534, plus the P number, 95.6, times the H number, which is 16.5. Probably the nastiest one we've had yet, but you're using a calculator, so we're not too terribly concerned about what's going to happen here. Again, order of operations, so get those multiplications first. So this is going to be the same as 1,068 plus 1,577.4, and that's the same as 2,645.4 feet squared. Okay. So now that leaves us 1 and 5, and 1 and 5 are our cylinders. And of course, even though it uses the same basic formula, what they do is they mark that formula up to be specific to the cylinder, specifically the circles, because of course we don't need to talk about the circles like they were so generic. We can use the pi r squared type things and the pi, 2 pi r, or pi times the diameter in there to get the job done. So that's where we're going to go here with 1 and 5. So let me clear off all the work you see there, and we'll go ahead and tackle 1 and 5. I'll start the same way I did just a moment ago. I'm going to give you that very specific formula. It's 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Of course, r stands for the radius, h stands for the height of the cylinder. If the cylinder isn't sitting on its base, which would have to be one of the circles, then it's leaning on its side, and the height is going to go left to right, which is exactly what we see in question number 1 here. It's not sitting on its base, which is one of the circles here. So pretend this is standing upright to help you visualize the height. So here what we have is an r of 15, a radius of 15, the distance from the center to the edge, and h is the height. Well, again, it's laying down in this one, so that's 32. Of course, the other thing that's in the formula that's a symbol is pi, but that's going to be the same every time, 3.14. In number 5, radius is marked at 7.5, very clearly, and the height is marked at 10.5, and again, pi doesn't change, so pi is going to be 3.14. So now we'll go ahead and plug those numbers into our formula and solve. So 2 times pi, 3.14, times the radius squared, 15 squared, plus 2 times pi, which is 3.14, times the r number, which is 15, times the h number, which is 32. Now, Some of you might be looking at that going, well, wait a minute, where did the parentheses come from? Notice that the order of operations here is going to force me to do everything on the left first, then everything on the right, and add them together. So the parentheses here have no net effect other than giving me the opportunity to point out that you're supposed to do everything on the left first, then the things on the right, and then add them together. So some simplification is in order here. So that's going to be the same as 6.28 times 225 on the left side, which is 1413. And on the right side, 6.28 times 15 times 32, which is 3014.4. I'm going to add those guys together for what looks like a lot of work, but really not all that challenging. And that's going to give me a net result of 4427.4. And that's going to be feet squared. All right, let's go down and tackle number 5 now. Same thing, so 2 times pi, which is 3.14, times the r number squared times 7.5 squared, plus 2 times pi, which is 3.14, times the r number for our question, 7.5, times the h number for our question, which is 10.5. All right, so we're going to tackle this again, left side, then right side, then we can combine them. So the left side is going to be the same as 6.28 times 7.5 squared, which is 351.5625. And the right side is going to be the same as 6.28 times 7.5 times 10.5, which is 494.55. And we're going to add those two results together. And that's going to give me 846.1125. And that's going to be centimeters squared.